Everyone would like to stand for the pledge of allegiance. Shall we get started? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The entire board is here. Please note that along with Chris James. Oh, I'm sorry. I still have to be in secretary.
So used to Kevin doing it.
Yeah. I'm listening to you here.
All right. Do we have the meetings from the March 21st?
Oh, sorry, I did not pass
I
them.
emailed to him.
He did, I printed them, I just didn't pass them. My bad. I didn't want to do it before everybody got here because I was thinking.
Well, he made it one page.
Thank
too.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You did.
Why don't we start with the one that you have to sign and we'll send it down.
Oh, okay.
All right. Guess I'll open it up to public comment.
You want to approve the minutes first?
I'll just wait for them. Everybody's signed. So,
Approval of minutes?
they're coming.
Oh.
Oh, okay. So, may I have a motion to approve the minutes that are coming down the line?
I make a, oh, good, yeah.
No, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. Now, any public comment? Okay. And the first order up is the dimensional variance on 48 Court Street. Howard Stone. And I think you are
Yes,
going
yes,
to.
Madam Chairman, I wish to recuse myself from the vote.
Okay.
And I don't see Mr. Stone, and he didn't say whether he was coming or not. In your packet, you should have a Exhibit A that shows what his request is. What he's wanting to do currently on the property there is a single wide mobile home, and he wants to remove that and build a small single family dwelling. Let me back up. The history of this is that the property was originally zoned R1 residential. At one point in time, a former owner owned this property, Miss Jones' property, and the Martin's property on this side. He owned all three of them at the same time and rezoned first, I think, the Martin and Stone property to B2 commercial, and then rezoned Ruth's property to B2 commercial. So on the planning commission meeting immediately after this, we are going to consider the request for the reversion of the zoning from the R2 back to the original, I'm sorry, the B2 back to the original R1.
Mm-hmm.
This is contingent upon him, that request being approved by the planning commission, but he wanted to go ahead and make the request with that stipulation that if they approve it, then this would go through. If they don't approve the reversion of zoning, then this is kind of it.
Okay. All right.
But anyway, that's kind of the background.
Mhm.
We didn't really want to get the cart before the horse, but it's one of those things that the planning commission meeting had been first, it wouldn't matter.
Mhm.
So that's one of the conditions of approval of this, is that reversion has to be approved.
Madam Chairman, may I have one more, since it's my property that is adjoining Mr. Stone's? I don't have any problems with what he's planning, and that's all I have to say.
And,
Thank you.
So he's requesting a 27-foot front setback where 30 feet is required, but that is to the right of way, not to the street. So he's actually farther than 30 feet from the street itself. And then he's asking for a 12-foot side setback to the west, which affects the Martins. or which, the Martin property, it's required, 20 foot's required there, he's gonna be a little bit closer. But there is quite a bit of distance between the proposed structure and the existing structure on the Martin property. So they're the most affected by the request.
Are any Martins here tonight? Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So is it just a 12 foot?
Yeah, it's 12 feet. The setback requirement is 20 feet, and he's just asking to be able to build it 12 feet from the property.
So it just would be 12 feet
It
from
would
my
be 8
property
feet
line?
closer to the property line.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then the third thing that I caught right at the end was that the minimum, what's the word? Sorry. It's a mouthful, sorry. The minimum lot width at building line is supposed to be 100 feet, and his lot's only 63 feet wide. So the variance is also for 63 feet, where 100 feet is required for the minimum lot width. So it's 3 separate requests. It's a lot of record that's also had a minor adjustment.
Now, this is all contingent if it goes back to R1.
Right. If you need something to put you to sleep some night, I've got all the research I did on all these properties to get us to this point. And then you should have a staff report in your packet as well. It's got all the background information.
Well, both the neighbors are here, right?
Yeah.
There's no objection.
Do you have any, neighbors have any problem with anything?
The only question I have is, like, which side is this driveway gonna be on? Is it gonna come over farther than that?
Good question.
I think what he indicated was that the driveway would be in that 12 foot between the house and the property line. But it wouldn't be, it would be on his property, but I don't know for sure.
But it won't go over
No,
further
it
than
would be,
that
it would
12
not
feet,
be on
right?
your property.
Okay.
It would be on his property.
Okay.
And I might be wrong, he may be intending to put it on the other side, but said he was leaving that much so there was the ability to get around the house. I can't remember if he said specifically the driveway, or if he was just leaving that amount so he had room to get around it.
Okay,
But no, it would,
that was the only question
Yeah.
I had about it.
Okay. Well, do I have a motion to approve?
You gonna go through our list, Jim?
yeah, you can, the KRS criteria. Findings necessary for granting variances. Before any variance is granted, the board must find that granting the variance will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. Welfare will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public, will not allow unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulations. In making these findings, the board shall consider whether A, the requested variance arises from special circumstances which do not generally apply to land in the general vicinity or the same zone, which I don't think that applies. B, the strict application of the provision of the regulation would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of the land or would create an unnecessary hardship on the applicant. And C, the circumstances are the result of actions of the applicant taken subsequent to the adoption of the zoning regulation from which relief is sought.
It would be C, wouldn't it? Or not? What would we make that?
I think it would be B myself, but.
Was it the, was it
It was before the adoption of zoning regulations. Was it before the adoption?
No.
No.
It.
So what would it be?
In this case, it's more
B.
that the lot is, it's a lot of record. It's been that way since prior to the
Okay.
zoning. And it's just too small for him to be able to meet the requirements.
How big is the house he's putting?
Not very big. I don't remember the square footage, but it's roughly,
725.
Okay.
yeah, and it'll match the character of the houses around it, the existing houses. Most of them are smaller, were built, I don't know what years, but they're older be out of character.
I'll make a motion to approve it. Would be the strict application of provisions and regulations to deprive the applicant of reasonable use of land or create unnecessary hardship on the applicant.
I second that.
With the condition.
With these conditions, yes.
What did I say? Oh, the conditions that I recommended were that the reversion of zoning had to be approved, and they had to get permits for any structures. Yeah, that's basically it.
So we'll agree to B. I see it was subsequent on the C.
All right, moving on to the,
Wait, did you?
Yeah, call it.
Yeah, call.
oh, sorry. We have a motion, we have a second. Does everyone agree? Signify. Any nays? Okay, that is passed.
I'm going to rejoin him.
Now we'll move on to conditional use permit for 507 Maple Street. Okay.
Now, this will be the mobile home from that property going up to
This is
Maple Street.
actually the mobile home from that lot.
Going up to
We
Maple.
just, from Howard's lot, he's selling it to the applicant for the conditional use permit.
And get rid of the trailer and have a home, an architect designed home.
Mhm. Okay, so where is this going?
So they're moving it to 507 Maple Street.
It's the upper part of the Hearn trailer park on Maple Street. I think when you turn in, it's the second lot on the right side. There's two spaces there. Yeah, it's two R. It would be the second one on the right side.
Is it proper for me to speak on that? Okay, I drove by it the other day, it's already mowed down, he's already got the utility pipes sticking up out of there, ready to receive that at Hearn Park.
Is anybody here for that?
No,
Okay.
How many have we put in there now? Will this be the third one?
I think
Or
the
second?
third one, I think.
I think so.
I think it's the third one.
second or
I
third
think we had
one.
two last year, didn't we?
Second and third one in the upper and at least one in the lower.
Yeah, I think we had two last year.
I think so.
And then I've given her the requirements from the zoning ordinance for what, basically what it says there under the
Is this gonna be the permanent home for it? It's not gonna move again?
well, it couldn't move anywhere except Van Village from there, inside the city.
My question is, why is a conditional use permit required?
Any insight into that?
I don't understand
I mean, it's
that.
moving
It's
to a
going
location already
into
needs to
a,
be trained.
yeah.
Mobile home
Yeah,
park.
what is
It's
it?
not on a foundation, correct?
No, it has to have tie downs, I believe, is
It-
what I
it-
said, and it
yeah,
has to have, it does have to have skirting and it
Right.
has to
Right.
have some, it
That's-
sets
It
on
has to be
something,
under, yeah.
yeah.
Again, I don't,
I don't think our language allows for mobile home park in Stanton.
Well, it does.
It's very vague though,
It's
it's.
But
vague.
it's already there too.
And that's what we were trying to do with the zoning ordinance, was to try to clarify it a little bit.
I think, do we have to have a rule about what year it is though?
Not
What year?
for a mobile home.
Not for a mobile
That's
home.
if you place one on a standalone lot, and that's where it has to be a double wide, and it can't be over a certain age.
Scott, do you see a reason why they would need a variance for this?
You are asking extremely complex questions. I don't feel comfortable just throwing you an answer. If it's something we need to look at, we'll take a look at it. I know several years ago, we did manufactured home ordinance, and we looked at several issues at that time. Maybe time to revamp it, we can kind of look at it, but I'm hesitant to say anything because I don't know a whole lot about this situation.
Well, and I would go back and look at our draft zoning ordinance that we've been going over, and look at that section. I've changed the language in it to hopefully clarify a little bit. It's just really complicated, like trying to figure out. And so I I've been asking around some other jurisdictions and see how they handle it. I feel like if they're putting it in a mobile home park, and this is my personal opinion, is that the conditional use permit seems a little bit overkill for that, if it's in an established
Right,
mobile home park.
that's where I'm going with my question
Yeah,
too.
I think we put verbiage for that, didn't we?
But the Hearn trailer parks have been rezoned to R3, which allows for a mobile home park. The truth is, years ago, they probably should have done a development plan and made it technically a mobile home park, and they didn't, but I think it works the way they did it. If nothing else, it's just non-conforming, like we talked about, but, yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to research it and asking questions.
I mean, I guess I don't have a problem
Right.
with
I mean,
this.
historically, this is what we've done.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're not doing anything different with this one. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about it, you know, like,
Well, aren't we trying to find out what other cities are doing also
Right.
with this, because this is an issue
right.
in several places?
I've been asking around and I've gotten some ordinances and things regarding manufactured homes, but it's just, I don't know, the definitions are, it's complicated trying to figure out exactly what it means by type 1, type 2, and where those are allowed, where they're not allowed, and why we're requiring a conditional use permit for this versus other things. So I don't know, it's the weirdest thing we've got in this game.
So anytime one's put in place, it's a conditional use,
Okay.
because it's not, it can be moved,
Right, I guess.
mobile.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess
I
we're all good with that, right?
Yeah.
I make a motion to grant the conditional use permit at 507 Maple Street.
I second.
Everyone,
With the conditions that stated.
the conditions as stated.
Did you get that?
What's that?
Motion is, Kevin made a motion to approve with the conditions as stated.
Yeah.
What, you said C or D?
For the conditional use.
No, on the staff report, the conditions.
Conditions as stated.
Okay.
And Tom second. All those in favor? Signify by saying aye. Any nays? All right, Tommy.
Yeah. Is this the one I wrote down? No.
I text you a picture there, Chris. You want to
Yeah.
pass it around, just to show where I'm going to put the dirt.
No, this-
Oh, this is the dirt, okay.
You all get a chance to look at it. You took it from the
Yes.
yard.
I drove up by.
You wanna level your yard, right?
Where are you gonna put all that dirt? I see where. it's
Well,
at.
10 single axles won't go. I mean, people hear 10 loads, I guess they think
Yeah.
that's, but they won't go far when you go to
Putting it out.
putting it out and
putting it
then
out.
the
I understand.
time it settles. All I'm doing is making that hill to where we can walk down it. I'm not trying to level out that, I'm just trying to gradually.
And there's no culvert there or anything?
I was kinda looking at
I've
it.
got water tanks under it, but my property all backs up to the river. It doesn't run toward anybody. But I did have all my adjoining neighbors. I
Yes.
talked to them, had them sign. They
Yeah.
had no objection.
He gave me letters of no objection, from everybody that orders, and I've got those and put it in the file. If you want to look at them, I'll pass them around.
Gonna take a lot of dirt.
The
It'll
picture,
be a
the
nice
picture,
improvement to the property.
I'm not trying to level it. I'm just gradually getting where
Right.
we can walk down it. So the picture's kind of deceiving, but.
Pictures never show elevation well at all.
So it,
They don't.
I don't see a problem.
Any time restrictions, like, you can't make a big hill and leave it there for a year.
Well, that's a discussion, I mean,
yeah.
I
Well,
think,
I have a question. How do you charge for up to 10 10 loads, I mean, is it paid for after the fact? Do we know actually how many loads? How does that work? I'm
Oh,
confused with it.
Okay, so
cost.
the way the city ordinance reads, is a fill dirt ordinance, and it says anything up to 3 is free. Anything 3 to 5, so there's a little bit of an overlap there,
Right.
is $50, and anything over 10 is $100. Am I saying that right?
That's it.
But
Per load?
how do you know until you actually
10
have
loads.
the number?
Three.
I'm only
All
gonna
in
bring in
there.
10. I'm only gonna bring in 10, I mean,
No, but what if it's less, is what I'm saying.
then you made a little money on it.
But we should charge you what we need to charge you, is
No,
what
I
I'm
don't care,
getting
because I
at.
don't wanna get in it and get 3 and then realize I need a 4th one.
I'm with you.
Right.
I understand all
Yeah.
that, but maybe we should have a return policy
I-
for a user.
I think what we could do with that is ask for an invoice. Like, I don't know who you're gonna get to haul it, and if they would give you an invoice, but
Yeah, that would be.
Do you have a place to get the dirt from?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know of a good way to do that. I think what we need to discuss, we don't have to do this right now, but real quick, a grading permit and then a minimum threshold, so like maybe that 3 load, like 45 cubic yards-ish. Anything up to that would just be a straight permit, and
Right.
anything over that would then be a conditional use permit. But that's not how the ordinance is written now, so that's something we need to consider changing and clarifying.
So right now, that's why I'm asking for conditional use. If
Yeah.
it takes 10, it does, if it
Right.
don't, it don't. So
Okay.
that way I'm covered.
All right, understand, thank you. Okay. Okay, anybody else have any questions about it?
I'd like to make a motion to, accept it. I wish I talked to you, boy. I know a place to get good fill. The airport's looking to move a big pile so we can build some hangars there.
Okay, let me know.
I will second it.
My brother-in-law got a truck, so.
All those in
And,
favor?
Aye.
All right, Tony, you're approved.
Thank you.
All right. Uh-huh. I don't hear well, what?
You should ask to be recognized.
Oh, recognize to leave? Yes.
Yes.
You folks have a good evening.
We'll let you go,
We were
Tom.
doing the Pearl Street,
We're gonna do
yes.
that.
A plural
That's
seat?
Tommy, Tommy's got that one, now we're going on. to-
Now Tom's leaving us.
All right, see you.
Bye, Tom.
All right,
Tom,
Wow.
wait just a minute, let's make sure.
A question for me?
Yeah, let's make sure
Yeah,
everybody knows
yeah.
why you're leaving.
Huh?
You wanna call the Rose case?
yeah, that's the president.
Before or after Tom
I wanna
leaves?
call it
No, no, no.
before
You
you.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, as I understand it, you are going to excuse yourself and not be a part
I'm
of.
friends and I work with Beck.
So he's not going to be part of the deliberations. We probably need to state that, make sure that's on the record, that that's why he's leaving. And
Right.
and he will not be part of any of the discussions, any of the voting or anything. That's my understanding. Okay. Well, just wanted to put that out there, make sure that everybody understood that and that was, and there's no objection to that. And obviously, I don't think anybody associated with the board has anything, so I think at this point.
Well, I can't.
You're good to go. I just didn't want it to look like that you was.
Okay, I just blast, okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
All right.
See you next time, Tom.
Continue.
Tom, have a good night.
That's,
Since we started talking about the appeal, from what I understand, our zoning enforcement officer earlier this year issued a notice of violation to Mr. Rose who's here and his wife. The two of them did not agree with that notice of violation, and so they have filed an appeal of that determination. And per KRS and per our zoning ordinance, any appeal of the determination of the zoning enforcement officer would come to the Board of Adjustment for you guys to review and make a determination whether everything was done properly, etc. That was done, I think, when we were here last month, we discussed it briefly. Between that time and now, as city attorney, I feel it's probably my duty to assist you if you have legal questions about this type of stuff, anything zoning or appeal related. It's this appeal to zoning enforcement officer. It's a fairly uncommon thing. I think I looked back. I don't think we've had one in 20 years, so it's kind of a unique thing. And as I understand my job, because I have a little bit of a question as far as how I would interact with you guys, basically, I'm not part of the deliberations, none of that stuff. If you have a question, then you can obviously ask me. I will give you my opinion, my interpretation of the statutes, the ordinance, anything along those lines that you might need to help you. It's not my position to say, I think you should do this, or I think you should do that. So that would not be something that I would be involved in. And it's a little different, because I know the zoning enforcement officer traditionally is involved in the proceedings and things of that nature. In a situation like this, obviously because he's on the other side, he cannot advise or discuss these type things with you. So I'm obviously here. If you have questions, I'm free to tell you what I think, to cite anything that I think you might need to be made aware of. But ultimately, just to be clear, the determination as far as how to handle pretty much everything is left to you guys. If you have a question, I'm certainly good to answer that. And I guess the reason that we're here to begin with is we had a brief discussion at our last meeting about the appeal and how to proceed on this. And between the time of that meeting and this meeting, I filed requests for preliminary determination by the Stanton Board of Adjustment relative to pending appeal, which I think everybody received a copy. Did everybody get a copy? And then shortly thereafter, I spoke to Ms. Hawkins, who represents the Roses, and she filed a statement of appeal I guess you just sent it to us. I don't know that any of us filed anything. That's a legal term.
It's not recorded.
I think that what would be appropriate for you guys to do is to make as part of your minutes both the my request for preliminary determination and also what Ms. Hawkins had submitted to you, and place that into the minutes, for lack of a better word, to place that into the record.
Okay.
And I guess what's your determination, what I think you all should do here tonight would be to determine whether the appeal as filed was sufficient, and if it is sufficient, then the next question would be, what date do you all want to set as far as doing a hearing on that? And Ms. Hawkins, I imagine, would want to address the board as well, so.
I have a question of you.
Yes.
Okay, I've been in with other boards before, and anytime any kind of legal question came up, we had an executive board with the attorney to ask questions. Why is that not happening?
When you say executive board, when you say executive board, what?
I'm talking about a board meeting with you, the attorney. So, and in fact, you just had one with the city council, because I do have some questions that I thought would be handled in an executive session.
Oh, you're talking about a closed session?
Yes.
I don't think this would fit into any closed session exception.
Then I should ask my question now, right now.
You should.
Okay.
Well, let me say this. I don't think in reviewing the reasons that you can go into closed or executive session, we do some of those in city council meetings. I think the last one we did maybe was proposed for pending litigation, and we went into closed session for that. I don't think that anything that we would discuss here necessarily would fall under the exceptions to the Open Meetings Act.
Well then, I guess I'll just go ahead and ask my question that I would have asked in the executive session. I want to know that you are giving us advice as what the law says on many things, anything that we need answered. Or does that also mean that if this case goes to actual court, that you are representing us and you will be our attorney in court?
Yes. I would anticipate that.
Okay, that's all I needed to know, and I did not feel that I had any way of even asking that.
And I have in the past represented the Board of Adjustment on cases before.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
We need to find a date for we can meet on this. I mean, looking at what Ms. Hawkins provided, I guess your appeal has to do with the above ground swimming pool, correct?
Yes,
Right.
the other issue that was raised in the citation has been remedied. So
Yeah, I
that's
saw that. I
That's
saw that in your
moot.
letter.
That is no longer an issue.
Mhm.
We invite the officer to visit the property to confirm that that is the case, that all chickens have been removed from the property.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say Chris out there. He said it's not a chicken. So the only party to appeal is the above ground pool.
Correct. And I think that, just to clarify our position, it is the interpretation by the code enforcement officer. We believe that the existing ordinances do not apply to an above-ground pool. If you look at the ordinances that I've cited in my statement of appeal, ordinance number 16-006 clearly states that it applies to above-ground pools. Then ordinance 20-001 states that it applies to pools that are built. It's our position that an above-ground pool is personal property that is just brought to the property. It's not built. We do see how that a fence would be necessary to protect small children or others if it were an in-ground, because you have a child that could just walk along, access a deep pool that is ground level. An above-ground pool has the barrier to which it would prevent easy access by a small child, animals or others. We feel that he has complied with the ordinance by virtue of having a retractable ladder and a cover as per ordinance 16-006. So our appeal goes to the interpretation of the existing ordinances and how those have been applied to the property of the Rose. And then also the uniform enforcement. There's a concern there that there's not being uniform enforcement of this ordinance in the city. I personally prepared an open records request and was promptly provided the records I requested. I requested notices of violations for January 1, 2022 to the present for both ordinances which were cited in the Rose's notice of violation. There was the only notice of violation relating to a swimming pool was Mr. and Mrs. Rose. There were several other violations dealing with chickens for other property owners, but not one in the past 2 years other than the Rose property. Even the property next door, which if there wasn't an investigation, there's an attached photograph to the violation issued to Rose showing the rear view of his home with the above ground pool and the chicken coop as it existed on that date. The next door property has the same swimming pool, a same
Can I
above
ask a
pool.
question? And I've only been able to see a photo, I mean, and I think I drove past there and, saw what we were talking about. My only thought or question is, and I haven't been there to look at it, is it looks like you've graded up near the pool so that it's, I don't even know what is the depth of a above ground?
It can be several different depths.
Let me say this, I understand what y'all want to do here, but we don't want to get into asking questions back and forth and
Okay.
anything, because that's more appropriate. I understand everybody has good intentions, but realistically, what we're here for is to determine one, whether the appeal is sufficient, whether to accept the notice of appeal, and to set a date. If we start discussing the matter at length, it almost seems like this becomes like a pre-hearing, you know what I'm
I
saying?
understand.
So for that reason, I'm just trying to
Okay.
keep us.
It wasn't-
Need to set it.
Yeah, I think the appeal, certainly, everything seems above board there.
Thank you, I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
If that is the determinant, then you all need to make a motion
To accept the appeal.
to accept the statement of appeal, file it into the record, and I guess to set the hearing date for that.
Okay,
So I'm gonna
make a motion.
make a motion to approve the appeal provided by Ms. Hawkins and to set a date, and set it into record and set a date for the appeal.
I seconded.
Do you know what date that is? Do y'all know what date it is?
No,
Yep,
not yet.
working on it right now.
We're just,
I was gonna say, if you
got
can-
that
It doesn't have to be our normal
information.
meeting,
If
right?
you can, if you can figure it out, make that part of the motion.
I will.
Because I'm not gonna be here next month for the next
We
regular
gotta do
meeting.
it this one.
Oh,
So I don't wanna, they've been
Draw
waiting
this
long
out,
enough.
yeah.
I will be out of town at your next regular meeting. I have a
So
schedule.
we're trying to do it before our next regular meeting.
Oh, I see.
So she's
Okay.
on next month, so
Yeah.
we're gonna have a special meeting because it's dragged on long enough.
Mostly.
I got too much paperwork.
This is, yeah, we.
But if we
get
could
this all-
somehow do this next week, that would be awesome. That would be great.
I think
How about-
I am clear for the rest of the month.
How about next Thursday? Is anyone going on next Thursday?
Is there I can't be present next Thursday.
What day can you be present?
Not next Thursday.
How about next Wednesday?
I've got to have a medical procedure Wednesday, and I'll probably be out loopy Thursday, so.
How about Tuesday? We're-
Let's think. Let me think on this.
I gotta work.
I can't do that.
Yeah, I gotta work.
Are you saying the evening or would it be?
It does, it
It'd be an evening, 'cause I-
does need to be
I-
notices, I think, 7 days.
7 days.
Yeah.
There has to be 7-day notice.
Let's go,
7 days?
why don't we go the
I
following,
think-
why don't we go the following?
Let me
Thursday?
double check.
Can we do that?
Let me not-
I'm available, thank you.
Do that.
You talking about May 2nd?
Is that sound okay?
That's fine, with me.
May 2nd?
I won't be here.
Hold on, let me
But
verify,
you guys can do this.
we have to notify.
There's 3 months.
No, you need to be here.
Yeah, as long as we have.
Yeah, we're already 1 minute short, you need to be here.
What about May 1st? Is that possible, or Wednesday?
When?
May 1st on
What
Wednesday?
day are you leaving?
I'm leaving on the 27th, I will be back on the 4th. Then I'm leaving again on the 15th, and we'll be back on the 19th. Then I'm leaving. So May I will.
No, when are you actually gonna be here so we can get this?
I'm leaving on the
She doesn't have to
27th
be
and
here.
we'll be back on the 4th.
But that would only be
Leave
3
3, we only need
members.
3.
Okay, if that's what you wanna do.
Then we'll, set it for, say, May 2nd.
Is that more than 7 days?
Was that,
Okay.
was that good
It'd
for you?
be 2 weeks from
Okay.
today.
So I file a motion to schedule a meeting for May 2nd.
You're saying 2 weeks. Is that 2 weeks?
Mhm.
So 27 days.
6
May
o'clock.
2nd work for you guys.
May 2nd, what
Make it easy
time?
for you. 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
Is 6 o'clock fine? If not, 5:30 is fine too.
Whatever y'all do.
So May 2nd at 6 PM. Everybody good with that?
Yep. Okay.
Wasn't looking like
Now,
it.
does that give you time to publish it and all that kind of
I
stuff?
think we just have to do written notice, and that
Just
will
written
come from you
notice?
all,
Okay,
or Scott, however.
so that happens.
Does it come from you, Scott?
I think I can do it. Yeah.
Okay. All right,
I think that's it.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Okay.